Hello and welcome to this session, Optimizing End User Experience with Control It for VMware Horizon. My name's Tom Fenton. I'll be joined today by Trent and Ty.
Hello.
Hey, we're technical specialists at Control It. This is our topology. This is our architecture. It looks kind of busy there, but it's really quite simple. You have one executable file you download from us and you're up and going. Usually people can get us going in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So what we like to do and what you guys like to see are demos. So let's go ahead and dig right into those. This is the Control Up console. I haven't added my EUC environment into it, but I have added my hypervisors. You can see that we collect information on the data stores. We also collect information on the host, so you can get an idea how your hosts are doing. And we even collect information on, they don't have to be just virtual desktops, they can be any machines. One of the things I like to do is use this grouping function to see which one of my VMs are powered on and powered off. But let's go ahead and add an EUC environment into this. Really easy to do. I'm going to go up here and say add EUC environment. It's a VMware Horizon, give it a name. I'm going to call it HRZ-ENV. Give it the URL or IP address. And then give it credentials that can access it. And so what we're doing is we're going out there, contacting a connection server. It can be any connection server in your environment. Pulling in the information, bringing it into Control Up, getting all those virtual desktops, putting them into folders, and bringing it back out. And here's our EUC environment. This little black dot means that it's still collecting information, and bang, the information is right there. Let's go ahead and focus in on it. And this is all the objects that make up the environment. I have a connection broker here. And the VMs here. Let's take a look at the connection servers themselves. The top line shows an aggregate of all the connection servers. In this case, I just have one connection server. And then all the connection servers will be listed below it. Anything that's prefixed with an HZ means it's coming from the Horizon connection server. But we also collect information from inside the VM itself. You can see that the CPU, that's actually coming from inside the CPU. We collect other information from the connection server, things like whether it's licensed, the server version. You know, this is kind of important. VMware best practices says all the connection servers in your environment should be the same one. This is a real quick, easy way to show that. But most of the time, you're going to be spending with your desktops. That's where most issues happen. And so this again shows all the virtual desktops. I'm going to go ahead and drill into the connection, the call center. This is a automated pool with instant clones. Again, the top view shows you the overall health of it. Looks like I'm having some issues here. I can click the hamburger here and it says why I have issues. Looks like I have some stressed machines, and then I'm starting to run low on available machines. So that might be something that I need to look at. Underneath, we have the desktops and what's going on with them. Again, a lot of highly stressed machines here. It looks like I might be having some issues with memory utilization and with CPU utilization. And because we can do grouping, even though this one has high CPU utilization, I wonder if it's having the noisy neighbor problem. So I'm going to go ahead and group by host name. And let's take a look and see if it's affecting the other ones. This memory utilization is here. And this is the guy that is using all the CPU cycles. It looks like the other VMs really aren't using CPU cycles. And the CPU ready, which means that you have a process that wants a CPU, but a CPU isn't available, is at 0. So So it looks like even though this guy is very busy, it's not affecting the other VMs. So don't have to worry about it. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Trenton, and he'll take you and do some real-time troubleshooting.
All right, yeah, thanks, Tom. All right, so let's get into how we can use ControlUp to troubleshoot some issues in your environment. So again, on the left, you can see we support all the major hypervisor vendors. So if you have Hyper-V, Nutanix, obviously VMware, vCenter, or even the Citrix hypervisor platform, we support them all. So I'm just going to focus on my vCenter platform here. And they're under some level of stress. So as Tom said before, green is good, yellow, I mean, maybe some investigation, and red is probably bad. So looking at this, we can see that I've got VM host 1 under a high stress level. If I click on this little icon here, it tells me there's two things that are contributing to this stress. One is consume memory and one is data store rewrite IOPS. So knowing my environment, I'm actually pretty used to us running pretty lean on memory. So 95% utilization isn't out of the realm of normal, but this data store rewrite IOPS being at 39,000 IOPS is out of the normal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to investigate it. And what I can do for that is if I click this hamburger icon here, I can go to the machine's detailed view. The virtual expert that has been exposed is suggesting the next step to troubleshoot it. And if I click on this, it's going to highlight the column of interest, so telling us what we're troubleshooting, the data store rewrite IOPS of about 40,000 on this particular host, and it's highlighted it, the column itself. And if we look, it's automatically taken us to the machine's view, and it's sorted the columns based on the areas of interest. So it's telling us that this read-write IOPS is high, and so we should be investigating it. And so what I can do is I can right-click on this object, and I get a context-sensitive menu that allows me to do some kind of remediation. So I can, execute some power management action, reboot the machine if I think that's going to resolve it, or some script action or something else. But since I don't know what's actually causing the problem, I'm going to drill down further. So I'm going to click on the hamburger again, and the virtual expert's suggesting me to go to one of these two views, session or processes. I'm going to go to the sessions view. And again, ControlUp's highlighting on the top column that the virtual disk read-write IOPS is the column of interest that we want to troubleshoot. And it's got the sessions underneath and sorted them by their IOPS. And so we can see we've got one user, Steve DeVincent, who looks like he's causing our IOPS issue. So we've narrowed it down from the hypervisor view down now to the sessions view. So if I right-click on this user, I can now, again, have a context-sensitive menu that I can execute a series of actions on for this user. So if I wanted to, I could log them off, and potentially that would solve my issue. But again, I don't really have that solid understanding of what is the root cause of this. And so I'm going to click on the hamburger icon again and switch to the processes view. And here in the processes view, I can actually see the individual process that's causing our IO issue. So again, all the way from the top level, the hypervisor view, all the way down to the virtual machine in the session to the processes, we're able to identify that specific root cause is what's causing our issue. And it's a process called dynamo.exe. So again, I can right click on dynamo.exe and actually execute some remediation action, right? And as you drill down further, you're seeing that the remediation actions get less and less severe. Rebooting a virtual machine versus logging off a user versus now potentially ending a process or even throttling that process down, so reducing its CPU usage. But again, still, I'm not 100% sure as to what's causing this issue. So I can choose to get a screenshot of the user session, and each one of these is configurable within security policy. So you can disable this for non-privileged users, and maybe you only want this for certain privileged users, or disable it entirely. So it could only be with user approval or with user notification. But for the purposes of the demo, I'm going to do it without notifying the user. And we can immediately see that he's running a program. It looks like IO meter. And since the program's updating, we know that the process itself, it's not locked up. It's not like it's in an infinite loop or anything like that. So looking at IO meter, the fact that the UI is changing is telling us that he was doing some kind of test. Now we can Google what is IO meter. It turns out it's a program for benchmarking your storage. And so potentially this administrator logged onto the machine. He started an IO meter to test the underlying performance of the storage, and maybe he left it running when he should have closed it. So now we know what it is, and we can actually reach out to the user and contact them, or we can just take corrective action right now if its impact is more severe and impacting other users. So this is one way ControlUp can look from the high level all the way down to the low level and everywhere in between, and give you that trail and that idea for what's causing your problems in your environment.
Thank you for joining the session. Trent, any last words?
Nope. Thanks so much, Tom. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks, guys.